This is a call for vengeance. Welcome to today's show. I want to show you how psychological operations work, and this headline is the perfect example to use. There is an article in NBC News that just came out, and it's titled, "After Libs of TikTok Posted, at least 21 bomb threats followed." Now, for those of you that don't know, Libs of TikTok is a person who posts ridiculous things that come out of the mouths of Democrats, liberals, whatever you want to call them, on Twitter. And there's obviously a psychological operation tied into this because this person who just was posting, literally reposting things that these people said, cracking jokes or putting, music behind it, became a big time sensation. So much so that Libs of TikTok is mentioned on the mainstream media, which is one of the telltale signs to look at it as a government operation, because the media is only going to talk about you if you're part of their plan. So why would this person be what it is, right? Why would somebody be posting on Twitter and then, of course, have the government say, oh, well, this person's now a threat? Wouldn't they be, if they were in on it, wouldn't they be put in jail or something like that? And these people never go to jail. They do these things because they're psychological operations. They're there to manipulate you. So a story like this is obviously designed to gaslight conservatives or gaslight even people like us. People like us who look at it and say, oh my goodness, what's next? What are they going to do next to us, right? I just covered the event that happened in, I believe it was Pennsylvania, where a guy decapitated his dad and was doing it live on YouTube and was a crazy conspiracy theorist who was trying to start an uprising. Does that sound familiar? I mean, I don't know where they got that blueprint from, but it sounds pretty familiar. So they're doing these false flags, they're doing these psyops because they're planting seeds of what a terrorist looks like in the minds of the new generation, the new younger generations. They're telling them that their own civilians, their own brothers and sisters, their own fellow Americans who have this mindset are dangerous. Having a mindset that is against the globalists is dangerous. Trying to call out wickedness and perversion is dangerous. So this is a perfect example. Now, suddenly, Libs of TikTok has revealed their identity, and they even have a Wikipedia page. So again, that tells me that this is part of a government operation. Maybe people look at it and they say, well, it organically grew, and then the person became famous. It's only, if you get any attention, you get put anywhere in the mainstream media, it means they want to bring attention to you. Because sharing someone like me on Fox News or sharing someone like me on the liberal media would only bring people to me, okay? And a lot of people that they bring to me, I will be able to bring out of their hive mind. So they don't want to do that. They only want to bring you where they want to bring you. So this story is as fake as it comes, okay? For many reasons, right? You could take your perspective on this woman and if she's a government agent or not out of it. You could just look at the story itself. That her posting content on her Twitter account, literally resharing clips of Democrats speaking like Joe Biden or some of these crazy people at libraries who decapitate their penises, those types of people, whatever you call it, castrate themselves, John Bobbitts of the world, just by reposting it, that is causing people to call in bomb threats. So they're trying to say that this is dangerous. We need to fully control what could be talked about, what you can and cannot mock, what you can and cannot point out. That's the point of this, and that's why Libs of TikTok is another one of these conservatives that's getting promoted, because eventually the conservatives are going to be the ones who help bring about censorship on all platforms. So last March, police in Iowa investigated a bomb threat targeting a junior high school. Authorities brought in specially trained dogs to sniff for explosives and started looking into why someone might try to target the community's teachers and students. Law enforcement quickly determined that the threat was a hoax. It said, quote, "It appears this all stems from a post made earlier this week by Libs of TikTok." Okay, and keep this in mind. They're trying to make this so it's like people like me who are sitting here talking about this stuff. I've never once called for violence. I've never once told you to go do something. They want to be able to say, yeah, he didn't say to go do anything. Okay. But he's insinuating it. Or just by saying this, it's making people go and do that. Because they're pretty much trying to remove any type of hinting at the government being wicked, that the government is fully, committing treason. This is part of the design plan. So this fits in perfectly with the narrative. Now, this person, Libs of TikTok, is not accused of making the bomb threats in Iowa or anywhere else, but about a day and a half before authorities responded to the threat was posted online. They're saying threat is that this person, Lib of TikTok, posted that schools are offering pornographic books in its library that teaches kids about gay sex. So that's a threat by telling them what they're actually doing, letting people be aware of it because people are getting angered by it. So this is psychologically done by design. Okay, the CIA, the government agencies know exactly what they're doing and how to pin us against each other and how to psychologically hurt us. Okay, so it goes on to this goes on to say that NBC News identified 33 instances starting in November 2020 when people of institutions singled out by Libs of TikTok later reported bomb threats or other violent intimidation. The threats, which on average came several days after tweets were made from Libs of TikTok, targeted schools, libraries, hospitals, small businesses, and elected officials in 16 states, Washington, D.C., and the Canadian province of Ontario. 21 of the 33 threats were bomb threats, which most commonly targeted schools and were made via email. So we already know that it's a fake story by the number 33 because they announced this stuff. This is how they get away with universal law, which is that they have to reveal themselves as they do it like this. They reveal themselves through numerology, all these events that happen, the staged false flags. The number 33 is always there, right? Hillary Clinton, the 33,000 emails, always seeing 33. Didn't Trump just lose a case a few days ago, $83.3 million or $1 billion, to gaslight everybody, get them angry, thinking that he's really going to pay. It's just, stuff's unbelievable. This is all psychological. If you pull yourself out psychologically, they lose control. They lose control. So that story, that tells us right there that this is a government op. This is make-believe. Now, Libs of TikTok will tweet out and say stuff. Oh, it's new to me this morning, right? Here's a tweet from Libs of TikTok. Now, I don't really follow any of these accounts. I don't actually follow any of them, but I did see Libs of TikTok trending. I am familiar with Libs of TikTok because it's constantly talked about on the news, so it's on my radar of psychological operations. Again, because they only bring attention to what they control, okay? There's not like they're going to bring somebody on there that's going to start a real revolution or have some answers for any of this stuff. So Libs of TikTok tweets out about the article and says it's slanderous and I'm going to be contacting and reporting them to the FBI. So to me, that's even another telltale sign that this is a government agent. Because if you're in the know and you're awake and you're aware, you know that you cannot call the FBI or the CIA and have them, what do you think, the FBI is going to attack themselves? Huh? What's the FBI? Oh yeah, the FBI is going to turn themselves in and come out and say they made it all up. Huh? I mean, the FBI is the ones behind it. The CIA are the ones behind it. So all the story like this does is the obvious. Every single person out there that hears it gets angered by it on the conservative side. The liberal side, they love it, right? And they just don't seem to understand that eventually the censorship is going to come for them too, okay? They're like, oh, I don't say anything bad because they're narcissists, right? Whatever I say is not a big deal. They're going to be complaining when they can't play Sonic the Hedgehog 24 hours a day because of their, how they have to ration their energy and things like that. Because they don't believe it's actually coming because they're too dumb and too weak to believe it. So eventually all this stuff is coming to them. They're starting with us. And of course, they're using the free speech thing as one of the herding mechanisms for the states, for the removal of states, for us to be divided into civil states, red states, blue states. So people will believe that they're going to get free speech in these other states, and they're probably going to be hit with a DEW immediately upon arrival on some of these states. But that's another story for another day. So this story is out there and it's trending. It's trending for a reason, right? Libs of TikTok just post stuff, and then all of a sudden Libs of TikTok is like the biggest account. They say it's suppressed, that it's not suppressed, like Tucker Carlson. He's suppressed off of Fox, yet he's on YouTube, yet he gets promoted in Twitter. People they take a little bit of this stuff and they don't think any further. They're like, it's organic. Tucker Carlson, it's organic. Libs of TikTok. None of this stuff is organic. You get your head cut off before you could become big enough. I'm living proof of that. Okay, a lot of you are. A lot of us have had big channels, okay? And then they cut you off to the point where you have to rebrand. Libs of TikTok doesn't have to rebrand. Libs of TikTok is out there. So Libs of TikTok is being used exactly for what they want. They're saying that anything Libs of TikTok is posting is causing terrorist events to occur. Bomb threats are being called in because this person is posting stuff on their Twitter account. And it ties right into the story with all of these false flag operations the government does, where they automatically have the same blueprint in place for each guy who's supposedly responsible, each John Doe, each, Lee Harvey Oswald, or as I call him, each George Glass, right? And what is it? Let's see. It's a conservative. It's his Twitter account or whatever social media account says that he's a Christian. He's into conspiracy theorists. He's talking about a revolution. He's anti this, all fits the same thing, right? They're trying to describe a terrorist as people like me and you, which is why the government created Q in the first place, to lump us into that. So they're building this up in people's minds as we go forward as to who a real threat is in this country. Now, obviously, we're going to see more and more false flags pop up where Democrats don't want to live amongst conservatives and vice versa, all done by design, as they continue to put stories like this out there to gaslight everybody into saying, can you believe it? This woman posted online. So 33 bomb threats are called in. So what are we going to do? Well, we're going to have to look into if we could allow anybody to post. And then you go, well, what is this person posting? If they're not inciting violence, if they're not on there going, hey, everybody get your gun and go do something, okay? Then how are they inciting violence? Well, they're trying to twist it in other ways because they don't want their globalist agenda exposed. So they're using people like this to get those laws put in place by saying, look, this person did this. This is what happened. Now we need to put in laws where we cannot allow anyone to even question the government on the internet because it's causing all sorts of craziness. And it's amazing that people don't see it, but they don't. And we know that they don't because a lot of these people are doing what? Well, they continue to go poison themselves. They continue to stand up for a government that's gone rogue. Okay? They continue to, every single government operation that they roll out, they believe. No matter how fake it looks. You can have these people lose a son or a daughter at a school. When they go to school, they're 4 years old and they're like, oh, they're off to school. Then lose them and be on TV that night. And instead of crying, they're going, we need to do something about guns. And they still can't see how the government's operating. Now, the government's obviously hell-bent on removing speech because what else is going to wake people up? I showed you that speech from 1958 or 1959, which is still up here, where, they were talking about that. The most important thing for them to control is the information flow, right? Because if they can control the information flow, then nobody's going to be able to wake up and snap out of the psychosis. So people like us who are trying to bring people out of the psychosis are never going to come out of the psychosis. And that's done, obviously, by design. So they need to put false flags like this in place. So, and it's not going to happen just because of this event. But the more you get desensitized, the more you hear this story, the more it becomes the new norm. Just like these school events, they've conditioned you into thinking that it happens every day and they're all real and organic. They do these things so that eventually you give in when the government says, hey, we can't have another bomb threat. Look, the government's all tied up in bomb threats that are all over stuff that are posted. It's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. And that's the world that we live in now, that people believe these stories and don't see agendas behind it. 33 bomb threats, right? Or 33, what was it? Let me get the exact thing. Yes, 33 bomb threats were called in. Nothing to see here, folks. That number 33 always pops up. It's like 33, 666, 13, right? But really 33, always see it. It's the calling card, right? 322. These are calling cards of these people. They let you know that these are operations. And they see it. All of the people in the secret societies, all these demons in these secret societies, they see the article. They know exactly what it is, and they know it's controlled. They know who is controlled, right? More controlled stuff. But she's going to go run to the FBI. I'm sure the FBI is going to, they're going to file reports against the people who wrote the article. The same people who run NBC News, the same editors who go to Davos, who go to Bilderberg, who go to Bohemian Grove. They're going to really go after him for slander, right? Or maybe she could take him to court, right? And then they could say, well, the court dismissed the case. And everyone will go, that's ridiculous. Even though this stuff has been in place, if you read the protocols of the elders of, well, you know who, big noses, the goblin-looking people, their books specifically say that you can't sue them ever and win. Okay, there's no Christian or nobody is ever going to beat them in court because it's been set up to protect them. And that's really what the courts are here for. They're here to protect them. So this is just, going to get people more riled up. And that's what all these things do. That's why they're called psychological operations, because they're weaponizing your mind with manipulation every single day. So I wanted to cover that story. I thought it was ridiculous. Anyone out there, I see it's trending. So people are going, I can't believe it. That's absolutely ridiculous. So just because she posts something, people are calling in bomb threat. And eventually a year from now, everyone's going to, it's just going to continue on and on and on. And they will put laws in because that's what they do. They do these things over and over again. Then they quietly pass bills, quietly pass laws, create false flags around it, pinning people, or at least creating in people's minds what a terrorist is now in 2024. And that is me and you. And eventually, it's just going to be everybody who calls themselves a follower of Christ. I thank you for being here. Hope you're all doing well. God bless you and your families as always.